Hello and welcome back to the Bottom Bins podcast. Another exciting week of Premier League action has just happened, so we're going to just crack straight into it, lads. Going to go to the first game here, Nottingham Forest and Leeds. The news has just dropped earlier on today that Jesse Marsh has been sacked after a January of big spending by Leeds, but the board once again showing they don't take any chances in this league. Oren, what do you make of that there? Obviously, during the mid-season prediction, we sort of thought Leeds were in a bit of danger, but does this just sort of compound that danger now?
Didn't expect them to be sacked, to tell you the truth. Look, they are in danger, and I'm pretty sure it was last week you said that they would go down, and I was thinking at the time, do you know, that's not a bad prediction because they are only a couple of points off the relegation zone.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, that's a big loss to Forest. Another good win for Forest, and Keylor Navas proven to be a brilliant signing already with a vital 3 points secured and really on his back, to tell you the truth. But I didn't expect Marsh to be sacked. Look, I know a lot of questions were asked about him, but as you say, the investment they gave him, and to tell you the truth, I would say a lot of the players that did come to Leeds from that American heritage were only there because of Jesse Marsh and his style of football.
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't understand why they've sacked him straight away, especially after just signing Weston McKennie, who's one of, well, it's arguably one of the United States' greatest exports in European football. Look, he hasn't done a whole pile, but like whenever you're talking about their greatest exports, you really do only be thinking about him and Pulisic in the modern day. Um, and when they've signed him, and obviously that I would say that connection was a huge reason to why he joined Leeds because he did have so many more opportunities, even in the Premier League. Um, so it's an odd one in that respect, but I understand it as well to a degree because they need results. This is a crucial time in the season. They've less than half a season to go.
Mm-hmm.
If they really, really have the desire to stay in the Premier League, they've obviously felt that this is the reason, or this is the opportunity that they needed to take in second March, so they could get someone in to bring them to the end of the season in the best possible light. And
Yes.
it's just who's it going to be because they're not going to be able to get a big manager. It wouldn't surprise me if Bielsa comes back.
Well, that's it, Oren. As you've literally just said, couldn't agree more. The lack of managers out there is ridiculous. So to get rid of a manager now after all that spending in January, it really is a decision, no one that just sort of baffles the mind, isn't it? With that lack of managers that are available at the minute.
As Oren touched on there, it does and it doesn't. Like, it is a concern for Leeds. As you mentioned, there is no managers out there, especially you don't have the likes of Big Sam or Roy Hodgson you can bring in for half a season to keep you out of the drop anymore. Like, so that is concerning for Leeds. But on the flip side of it, Leeds have only won 4 matches this year. Their last win was a 4-3 win against Bournemouth on the 5th of November. They have been in horrendous form. Like, the problem with Leeds is they're not scoring goals. They're not, like, the amount of chances they had against Forest. I know Keylor Navas had a great game, and it still boggles the mind that Keylor Navas is playing for Nottingham Forest. But look, at Leeds have been in horrendous form. They've had a horrendous run of results, and there's only so much the boardroom and stuff can take.
Yeah, I do completely understand what you're saying there, Owen. Connor, then obviously on the flip side of the game, look, another positive result for Forest. This is a team that we had well and truly written off a couple of weeks ago, but
Yeah.
they just keep producing results at the minute, and some outstanding performances on the field once again. Morgan Gibbs White looked very very good, and as the boys have already mentioned, the star signing Keylor Navas coming in and keeping a clean sheet straight away. Look, you really do have to look at them now and go, do you know what? They probably will stay up, won't they?
Yeah, it looks like they could stay up now. So the first half I thought Leeds were the better team, but second half Leeds were just awful. They didn't offer anything going forward. Navas kept Forrest in the game in the first half, and then Johnson, who's been playing really well, scored an absolute screamer. Like, it was unbelievable finish. Um, but yeah, Forrest are flying, and now they've got a proper goalkeeper in, and they've made a few signings, and they seem to be gelling as a team now. And I think I said they go down last week, but that was a massive win. It is tight down there, and I think Leeds do have a game in hand. I felt like the Leeds needed a new manager because I think they hadn't won in 7 games and they hadn't won since the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So they need like a new manager in there, it is a bit weird. They let him have January and get the signings in, but I think it just had reached the point where if they didn't get a new manager in soon, it wasn't going to get any better. So it's I don't know who they're going to get in either, because I think they're linked to the West Brom manager, but we'll just have to wait and see. That Bielsa, I don't think he'll go back, but I think this guy worked under Bielsa and he could be the best shout.
Yes, he is the West Brom manager. He is the leading candidate there
Yeah.
at the minute. I believe those discussions have already started between the two clubs. But yes, boys, look, I completely agree with you. I do think once again Forest had another great performance. They needed to have a good performance, especially against a team that are close to the bottom with them. So always good when you can get results like that. Owen, as you said on our mid-season review, games like these are 6 pointers, especially when you're in and around one another. So, big win for Forest. Well, I'm moving on, lads. I'll go to probably the biggest game of the weekend: Spurs against Man City. Spurs, very very good at home. Limited Man City chances wise. Erling Haaland recording 0 shots in a Premier League game for the first ever time. Oren, I'll come to you first. Pep dropped quite a few players. The team, not the same team that has lined out over the past few weeks. Lost João Cancelo now as well in the January market. No real strengthening within this side. And the news has come out today that Manchester City are under investigation for breaching financial fair play rules. They were brought up on this once before and managed to wriggle out of it. Dangerous times at Man City at the minute, isn't it?
Well, they've been charged with over 100 breaches of conduct in the Premier League alone, let alone breaking UEFA rules. So good enough for them, to tell you the truth. When you see some of the things that they have done over the past few years, excuse me, it does hinder their success to a degree as well. But yeah, on the game yesterday, you just knew whenever Arsenal dropped points, it was written in the stars for Man City to drop points. And look, their record at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium speaks for itself. They haven't won a game at it yet. They haven't even scored at it yet. But look, Spurs did what they had to do. It was shite defending from City, to tell you the truth, for the goal. I thought it was very sloppy, which you don't really come to expect from Man City. But look, we've talked about it week after week on this podcast about Erling Haaland, and obviously he's not at fault for his contributions, of course, because he has the most goals in the league by a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimmy Carragher was saying last night that we're only seeing 60% of Holland, and I do actually agree with that. And he believes that if Holland was in a different team, we'd see even more goals and even more to the game from Erling Haaland, and I do agree with that as well. Because Man City do have the same amount of goals at this stage of the season as they had last season, but they should have had, like, when you're adding the best striker in the world to your team, you should be adding his 25 goals or whatever it is he has now. You should be adding that to what you had last season. It shouldn't be compensating for each other. So there's obviously a bit of trouble in the works there at Man City as well. You can see it with the quick sale of João Cancelo. That was completely out of the blue for us fans anyway, but it was obviously dawning at Manchester City for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously something going on behind the scenes with Pep and the players that we aren't hearing about. But yeah, they need to get it. If they're really thinking about a title charge again, they really need to get their asses into gear.
Yeah, look, again, Owen, I couldn't have put it better myself. Don't want to talk too much about Man City here just on this episode, lads, because of the breaking news and stuff today. I think it's probably one that we need to cover on the Bottom Bins Extra and sort of do a full episode on Man City, really. So I'm going to move it on to Spurs. Owen, Harry Kane, 267 goals as a Tottenham Hotspur player, is now Spurs' all-time leading top goal scorer. Incredible numbers, really, aren't they?
It's not bad for a one season wonder. Like, it's been a very long season for him, hasn't it? Look at, he's probably the best. He probably will break the record set by Shearer. He'll probably go down in history as the best striker to play in the Premier League. It's just he does need that bit of silverware to back it up. But look, at Spurs done exactly what they had to do yesterday, and it's becoming the familiar familiar topic when we talk about Man City, about teams doing exactly what they have to do, because it's been a blueprint now from the start of the season that you sit compact at the back, you hit them in the break, and City can't deal with it. And look at Tottenham had great chances. Like Kane missed another three chances that on another day Harry Kane puts in the back of the net, and we're talking about a 4-0, 3-0 win for Tottenham here. Because look at City are just woeful at the minute, and it was a massive win for Tottenham, absolutely massive. It brings them straight back into that top four conversation, especially
Mm-hmm.
with Newcastle faltering again, and Newcastle faltering has become kind of a trend a wee bit of recent weeks. So look at it, just seems to be a hoodoo on that stadium whenever Tottenham play Man City to turn into prime Barcelona in terms of getting results. Like as Oren alluded to, City haven't even scored a goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yet. So look, it was just a poor flat performance from City again that we always talk about, and probably the best performance Tottenham's had in a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah, completely on, completely. Connor, no Antonio Conte in the Spurs dugout. We at the bottom bins would like to wish Antonio Conte all the best after his surgery. But the assistant manager stepped up and managed to pick 3 points up against, arguably the best team in the world over the past how many years. Spurs right back into the top four contention, as Owen stated. Positive signs for Spurs, or are you still a bit maybe cautiously optimistic surrounding Tottenham Hotspur at the minute?
With Spurs, they have been improving. I even thought against Arsenal when they lost, had a few positive moments. I think I've said it like 15 times, but Ben Kerr and Kulusevski are a huge for that team. I thought Højbjerg yesterday was superb. I thought he was man of the match. Obviously, Rodri made the mistake. The way City play, that's the way they play. They take risks, especially around their own box. Made the mistake. Højbjerg got in there and scored. Kane's finished superbly. Uh, I think Spurs definitely can get top four, especially the way Newcastle are playing at the minute. And City are in big trouble. Like that's their third away loss in a row. I don't know what Pep's like. He doesn't start De Bruyne in such a big game. Like Arsenal's just dropped points, and you need to go make a statement. You need to narrow the gap, and he doesn't start. They're probably their best player, except Haaland maybe. And I agree with the lads. I think Haaland just doesn't suit Pep's kind of style. Like they were saying there, like he's used to Dortmund where it was like counter attack kind of football where he can use
Mm-hmm.
his pace. We're not even seeing that now. But Harry Kane as well, unbelievable. 200 goals, the quickest to 200 goals in the Premier League. And he will go down as one of the best strikers. And I agree with the one that he does need to get silverware. But he's 17 goals this season and he has been brilliant. Like he is basically, if he keeps performing like this and Spurs improve and they've been starting better in games, I think they'll get fourth. I think they'll get it over Newcastle.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything controversial about that, to be honest. Spurs are on a good roll at the minute. Oren, they even looked defensively more solid yesterday, and that is something that we have criticised Spurs about over the past number of weeks, but a number of good performances in defence, especially Christian Romero. Emerson Royale was outstanding defensively, didn't give Grealish a sniff. Again, positive signs for Spurs, really, in the defensive department.
Look, it was they done what they had to do. I wouldn't say it was a revelation of a defensive performance. Look, they done their job. Christian Romero obviously got himself a red card, but he was good up until the red card. But I did think the real difference maker was Pedro Porro. We've talked about his potential impact with the potential transfer over the last few weeks, and I think that stability in the right wing back position really did solidify it. And we did see Emerson Royale play well when he was like he was getting more involved in the play. The one thing about Emerson Royale is, and it is quite controversial to say this, but I do think he's more defensively sound than he is going forward.
Oh no, that's completely correct, Oren. Completely correct.
So I do think they need that kind of stability in there as well. But yeah, look, everybody done their job for Spurs yesterday. You knew that it wasn't going to be an easy game for City when they were going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It just seems to be their bogey stadium. And Harry Kane always performs against Man City. And look, he's broke Jimmy Greaves' record. There isn't much more that can be said about Spurs' performance other than kudos to them. They fully deserved it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, lads. League leaders, Arsenal. They have dropped points. Really in a game where Everton, I haven't seen that performance from Everton this season. Dyche ball in full effect there at Goodison Park. Owen, I'll come to you first as our resident Arsenal supporter. Poor performance overall, and really lucky that City dropped points, because on another weekend, if City had beaten Spurs, you'd be looking at Arsenal and going, this is maybe where the crumble starts.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was, to be honest with you. Look at Arsenal were really, really poor, but not to discredit Everton. Arsenal were poor because Everton made them look poor. Everton's knew when to press. They pressed well. They defended as a unit. Every time Arsenal went down the wings, which has been their main attacking avenue, Everton had 10 men in the box. Like, you need to put in the greatest cross of all time to elude 10 different Everton men. Um, and Everton always a threat from set pieces with the centre halves to have the likes of Cody and obviously Tarkowski. I thought Odegaard was very weak for the goal. Tarkowski pushed him about 5 or 6 yards deep, and Odegaard didn't have a chance of stopping him.
Mm-hmm.
Scored a goal, but in general, it just didn't. Obviously, a new manager boost and all. You always see it. New manager comes in, team gets a great performance. But I think a lot of credit has to go to the Everton crowd yesterday, because Arsenal just couldn't put them out.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd was on top of that game from the first minute to the last minute, and they're there to support their team. There wasn't the animosity you heard over recent weeks of threats against owners and all. It was just the Everton fans were kicking every ball, and Everton by far the better team. And like, Arsenal had the ball, done nothing with it. When Everton had the ball, they created the better chances. Calvert Lewin had a couple in the first half. He had one that he was millimeters away from making contact with, and the only real proper chances I can remember from Arsenal is the one in Kedia had, where he wriggled his way through and he took his time as if he was going to try and place it, and then he just balloons it over the bar, which
Yes.
was a
Yes.
bit weird, like, especially when he took that minute to think. But overall, Everton full value for their win, and Arsenal very lucky that their old foes done them a favour the day after. Like, it was like Arsenal gave City an open net to close the gap and put real pressure on them, but they lived to fight another day, and it nearly seems like a good weekend for Arsenal, even after what happened on the Saturday, and it was looking very bleak at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agreed on. Completely agreed. Oren, obviously, Everton, that bounce of a new manager, it's always going to make the players react in a positive light. But how impressed were you with Everton's performance? Because that is something we haven't seen this season from the boys in blue.
Look, Sean Dyche is a brilliant manager. He's known for grinding out them results. He's not known for the spectacular football per se, but he knows how to win football matches. Um, I've seen a lot of his interviews creep up in the last couple of days, especially since the result. Um, and they've all been asking him, it's been showing like tactical analysis between him and Pep Guardiola of how Pep Guardiola describes how he wins football matches, and how Sean Dyche describes winning a football match. And Pep Guardiola talks for about 3 minutes about the midfielders have to come into play and the fullbacks have to do all this and whatever. And Sean Dyche simply says, "We score more goals than them." Um, and I love that, because it's a proper manager. That not to say that Pep Guardiola is not a proper manager, but look, Sean Dyche knows how to win football matches and he knows how to do the dirty work. He's been in this relegation fight before. He's a veteran of it. So coming into Everton, it was always going to be difficult for him. I did not expect him to get this result against Arsenal. I half expected him to get something off them just because of that new manager bounce. Um, and I think anybody would have come in and got some sort of reaction from the Everton fans, especially first game being at home at Goodison. Um, but look, he got the best out of his players. Two of his old Burnley boys linking up for the goal as well, a towering header from Tarkowski off the Dwight McNeil corner. So I'd say he was personally pleased with that, seeing his old folks, his old folks doing the business for him.
Mm-hmm.
But a special mention has to go out to Onana. What an absolutely talented footballer he is, and we've seen it all season. In a poor Everton side, he's been that shining light. He was signed as a defensive midfielder, but he's absolutely took up that role as a box to box. He was winning tackles all over the pitch. He was up in the opposition box waiting for the ball to be crossed into him. He was making the passes for the attacks for Everton. And look, they only had 30% possession, but they had the better chances the entire game. I don't really remember Jordan Pickford being properly tested. Eddie Nketiah probably should have scored in the first half, but he ballooned it wide. It's a disappointing result for Arsenal, but as Owen said, with the other results that happened in the Premier League this week, it's probably worked out quite all right for them.
Yeah, completely. Connor, look, big performances from that Everton side there on Saturday, especially as Owen mentioned, the likes of Onana. But somebody else I wanted to key in on, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Was very physical, really put himself about up top. And to be fair, whenever Mopé come on, me and Mincy, our Everton friend, we were talking about this. Everton did dip a wee bit whenever Calvert-Lewin sort of come off the field, and they didn't really have that out ball anymore. Look, he is a man that's known to be quite injury prone, but how important can he be, especially now under the new system with Dyche? Are we going to look at maybe a resurgence with Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, it is that question: will he stay fit? If he stays fit to the end of the season, I think Everton will stay up. Because he'll bring more goals to the game. He also brings that physicality, and I thought Arsenal lacked physicality throughout the game. They were like Everton outworked Arsenal. Like I seen it was the most distance travelled by Everton this season, and I thought Onana, McNeil, and Decore in midfield were superb. They played a 4-5-1. They doubled up on Saka and Martinelli. They knew their threat. Saka still nearly scored he had the shot that got cleared off the line, but I just thought Everton were superb, and I thought Arsenal kind of maybe took the game for granted. Maybe just so confident they thought we'll just turn up here, get an early goal, get a result, and it just didn't work out like that. And that's a huge win for Everton because I think it was an unexpected one, really. I know it was the first game, and I know Arsenal have a bad record at Everton. I think that's Arteta's third loss in a row, but Everton were second bottom of the league, and Arsenal were top, and Arsenal were flying, but they just outworked them, and they were just physical, and the atmosphere helped obviously as well. And I seen Dyche was just like, this gives us a platform now to move forward to the end of the season, and the way Everton are playing in that game, and I think they play Liverpool next, which is another big game, and I think they could get a result there too. I think if they can keep Calvert-Lewin fit and also obviously keep up the intensity, there's no reason they can't stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely a much improved performance that the Everton fans really needed yesterday, and to go and beat the league leaders very convincingly. Well, no bigger statement can you make at the minute in the Premier League. Moving it on then, lads, to Manchester United have moved up into third in the Premier League table now. A scrappy victory against Crystal Palace. A bit of handbags towards the end of the game that has seen Man United now lose Casemiro for the next 3 games unless they choose to appeal. Oren, I just want to come to you with this first. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding the Casemiro red card. Once again, we have an incident where VAR has maybe muddled things up a bit. Referee shown a still of the incident, then showed the incident slowed down and only from one angle. Now, I personally am in the camp that the minute you put your hands on another player, especially up round that neck area, and I know according to the other angle, his hands were actually just below the neck, but even at that, you do open yourself up to that kind of trouble. But talk me through it, Oren. What's your opinion on that red card?
It's hard to describe, to tell you the truth. It's hard to know what would happen if it was appealed. In my personal opinion, and trying to be as unbiased as possible, I don't think it was a red card. There was plenty of other scuffles happening at that time. I Whenever I first watched it, I was very annoyed at Anthony's reaction. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a shocking push from Schlupp, especially with that sloped ground at Old Trafford. Um, People have been hurt before there, so I thought that was quite vicious, and he only got away with a yellow card. Not saying it was a red card, but he did only get away with a yellow card. But I thought Anthony's reaction did spark the brawl per se, which wasn't entirely necessary. However, look, we've seen the footage back and stuff now, and obviously Ayew had his hand on Fred and stuff, so there is a couple of potential bans that are coming, perhaps, especially if United do appeal the result. or do appeal the red card. My reasoning for not thinking it was red card is because VAR looked at this for an extensive period of time. They slowed it down and slowed it down and slowed it down to where it looked like Casemiro had Will Hughes by the throat for a good 20 seconds, and he didn't. He had him just below the neck for 2 or 3 seconds. After the whole incident was finished, Will Hughes and Casemiro hugged, and that was it over. Um, but look, it's just the way it is. Um, he got his red card, and United just have to deal with it. The thing about you, if they do appeal it, it could be extended from 3 games to 4 games, which would mean he would miss the EFL Cup final, and
Mm-hmm.
we can't afford him to miss the Carabao Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
But look, once we went down to 10 men, we'd done the business. We were lucky we got that second goal, which is what we didn't do against Palace in the first game at Selhurst Park. We were lucky we got that second goal. A brilliant team goal, by the way, one of the best team goals I've seen from Manchester United in recent years, let alone this season. Um, and I've seen a lot of people talking about Garnacho being subbed off after being subbed on, but look, it was a sacrifice that United had to make and the manager had to make to secure that result, especially after we went down to 10 men. So I hope Garnacho isn't too disheartened because he played a vital role in that second goal. Um, and it just was the circumstances that needed to bring on more defenders and attackers to ensure that we didn't drop points like we did at Selhurst Park.
Yeah, completely agreed. Or completely agreed. I'm the same as you. I hope Garnacho's not too disheartened. Unfortunately, he was the man that had to make way. But look, it could have been anybody really on a day like that, and especially when you are fighting for those 3 points, you do just have to make sacrifices. Unfortunately, Connor, always an emotional day around this period of time at Old Trafford. Obviously, remembering the 8 Manchester United footballers that lost their lives in the Munich disaster. As we all know, Manchester United will never die. So, a very important win on a very important day really highlighted the character of this football club, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I thought the game itself, I thought we were comfortable throughout. We're 2 0 up. It was looking easy. And then the red card, which I thought was a bit soft. But as you said, if you put your hands on a player these days, you open yourself up to the red card. And the thing about it was as well, IU done the same thing and he didn't get sent off, but you just had to take it on the chin. And we did hold on and we showed great character to get the 3 points because we'd cost ourselves against Palace. That free kick, I'll never forget that one. That one hurt. But 13 consecutive home wins for United now. I thought Fernandes was superb throughout. Obviously, Rashford scoring again. The goal was brilliant. The second goal, 7 players involved, a great team goal. Obviously, Casemiro is going to be a huge miss for these upcoming games, which are big because I know United aren't probably in our title race, but you just want to keep the good times coming. You keep the wins going. But yeah, it was good character shown, and it was a big win because we conceded straight after, and we hung on. And I think the substitution, as we said, it had to happen because I think he went back to a back five. I think we were looking a bit shaky at the back, just playing with the four. We had to go to the five because we're down a man. And then once we did that, we just held on. So I think that is a big win for Man United, and games coming up that are winnable against a team that doesn't even have a manager. So uh, United can now probably push on and secure top four in the next few months.
Yeah, agreed, Connor. Owen, from the Crystal Palace side of things, then they were in the game. They did play some good football in patches, especially when United went down to 10 men. They did throw the kitchen sink at United, and it did look a wee bit hurry and a wee bit shaky at times. Lisandro Martinez, obviously, very good performance from him. He defended very, very well, especially in that last 20 minutes. Look, we said the other day that Palace were having a bit of a middling season, but when you see a performance like that from Crystal Palace, Owen, are there any positives that they can take away from a game like that?
Look, there's always positives in every game. Palace always do seem to raise themselves for the big teams. It's nearly the more struggle against teams round about their own level. Look, they kind of had chances. I do kind of agree with Dorman that United were comfortable in the game, especially with 11 men. De Gea made a good save. Um, Look, obviously, Palace started to make chances, and towards the end, defending with 10 men, you're going to have the kitchen sink thrown at you. But unlike in Selhurst Park, United managed to see it out. And United's starting to make Old Trafford a fortress again, which is good from their point of view. Like, how many times over the last couple of seasons have you heard about teams, this is the first time they've beat United at Old Trafford in 60 years, or whatever it was, and that's seen to become a week in, week out occurrence. In terms of the red card, look, I can understand why United fans are frustrated. There wasn't a lot in the incident, but if you put your two hands up around that area for any length of time, even 2 or 3 seconds, you're asking for trouble. I do think IU done something similar, and he probably should be cited for that. I know that doesn't really make much of a difference in the result, but if I was United, I wouldn't appeal it because I don't think he'd come off, and you're just risking probably your most crucial player for the biggest game of your season so far.
Yeah, definitely, Owen. Definitely. I think every Man United fan would agree with that sentiment. Good result for United, up into third position and looking strong under Eric Ten Hag. All right, lads, then moving it on to Newcastle. Again, 4 draws out of 5 games for Newcastle now. I did sort of worry about them in our mid-season review. I just wasn't sure if they had that sort of clinical nature, that goal scorer that they need, and you would probably have to say this is a better point for West Ham than it is for Newcastle. Oren, you were quite adamant though that you still felt Newcastle would finish inside that top 4, but do results like this maybe worry you a little bit?
Look, the past few weeks they've had a few draws, but this was probably the only one that did worry me, based on my own prediction. They shouldn't be drawn to West Ham, and West Ham look quite comfortable against Newcastle. To tell you the truth, Declan Rice probably had his best game all season, and I think that was due to Bruno Guimaraes not being there. But look, again, it's still another point on the road. Or sorry, not on the road, but I mean, it's still not a point on the board. They're not losing games, so I suppose it's hard to say. I do still think they'll get in the top 4, but they need to stop this run, which is crazy to think about because nobody expected Newcastle to be anywhere near this position. If Newcastle were to get even top 6 or European football in general, that would be a huge success for Newcastle this season. But it's just the way that they started off. They need to get out of this run of form of draws because sooner or later there will be teams overtaking them because look, it's all well and good not losing, but you're only picking up 1 point when other teams are picking up 3, and you need that level of. I was going to say consistency, but they're consistently drawn. But you need that level. You do need to just push further and try and get that win. And it seems as though without Bruno Guimaraes, that killer instinct doesn't really tick with Newcastle. But I do think they need to strengthen, particularly up front in the summer, because look, Callum Wilson, he's done it in the Premier League for I don't know how many years, but he's never been that top quality striker. He's just been one of them players who's done a job and he will score goals, much like Danny Ings. But I don't think you can rely on a striker like that if you do have Champions League ambitions.
Yeah, look, I don't think that's controversial to say, Oren, to be honest. I completely agree with you. Wilson is good for a few goals, but I agree in terms of maybe pushing for that Champions League experience. They don't really look like they can rely on Isak either. He keeps getting hurt, so that's unfortunate. Connor, as for West Ham then, they did look more creative. They were better in transition. A much better performance from their midfield signing, Lucas Paqueta. Played much better. Good result then for West Ham, or did you feel they maybe could have got something more out of the game?
I thought a draw was fair. I actually was very impressed by West Ham, especially Paqueta, and I thought Rice was superb. I even seen after the game Eddie Howe kind of said we give him too much space because he was running that midfield. That is where I think Newcastle are weak. That Willock in there and Longstaff, and I thought they got overrun in midfield really. I don't think West Ham created enough maybe to win the game. I know the centre back Agard, he missed a good chance. He was brilliant throughout too. He made a great tackle at the end because Wilson was in, and it looked like he was going to score again because he got in the first half kind of similar way because Newcastle came out firing first 10 minutes. They got a goal disallowed after like 50 seconds or something because the ball just went out.
Mhm.
and then they scored shortly after. But I think this is a good result for West Ham. I've seen they've only lost one in their last 6 now in 2023, so they are starting to pick up a few points. Uh, Again, it is Newcastle's problem is drawing games. They've 10 draws this season, 4 in their last 5. They just don't score enough goals. I thought some maximum, or it was per, and then Gordon came on. He was okay, but he's going to have to, like, he could be starting very soon, and he's going to have to step up for them if they're going to get top 4. I do think 2 goals in the last 5 games for Newcastle isn't going to be good enough, and I think Tottenham will be licking their lips and thinking, if we can pick up a few results here, if Newcastle could falter a bit. I don't think Newcastle's squad's strong enough. I think Spurs have a better squad, and I think Spurs will overtake Newcastle for top 4.
Yeah, fair enough, lad. Fair enough. Owen, look, one of those draws where it was sort of hard to pick to pick a winner out of it. And again, like I said, probably a better result for West Ham than it is for Newcastle. And just on Newcastle, then Owen, obviously we are a wee bit divided here as to whether they're going to make the top 4 or not. But really, as Connor said, is the squad strong enough now to be competing up at the highest level in the Premier League, or do you think it's maybe going to take another summer to really sort of stamp their authority on those top 4 places?
Look, I favoured them for the top 4 in our mid-season review there the other day. Excuse me, sorry, but I kind of think it might be us now. Just results this week, and obviously football is a results business. I could change my mind again next week, but I feel they're lacking that creative spark. Almiron's kind of fallen off a wee bit, and after his great start, and look, you just look at Newcastle's team, and their back line is set, and their midfield is set, but they are just missing the likes of like obviously not going to get a player like Kevin De Bruyne but like an Odegaard or somebody like that type of player who
Mm-hmm.
is the creator, because they're missing that at the minute. And obviously, like Saint Maximin, I always thought Saint Maximin was kind of a bit overrated because he wore the Gucci headband. He did a couple of rainbow flicks here and there. But like obviously you said Isaac is a great striker, but he spends more time in the doctor's table than on the field, which is a pity. Like, 'cause I like seeing him play, but it's concerning for Newcastle. And the problem with Newcastle at the minute of drawing these games is the teams around them are winning. Tottenham won this weekend, United won this weekend, even Brighton won this weekend. Like, they're the 3 teams in round that top 4 area, and all 3 of them won this week except for Newcastle. So that's concerning me for Newcastle. Look at if they can get the likes of Isaac back, maybe Gordon comes in, can be a wee bit more creative. It could help them towards that top 4 finish, but at the minute, I am concerned with them just because they're not winning games.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair enough, Owen. Totally fair enough. Moving it on then, lads, to Molyneux. Julian Lopetegui has pulled off what seems to be another miracle at Wolves. Um, Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. Oren, I'll come to you first. Sarabia, very active in the game, looked very, very good. The midfield of Wolves really controlled the tempo of the game, and it's becoming a sort of a common theme now with Wolves, and becoming a common theme where it's too easy to bypass Liverpool's midfield. What's your analysis of the game then, Oren, and especially Wolves' performance within the match?
Fully expected it, Connor, to tell you the truth. Not going to say that I expected 3-0, but I fully expected Wolves to win that game. And you coming into the match that Wolves' midfield, as you said, would be dominant, and I knew they would overrun Liverpool's midfield for sure. Um, Look, Liverpool's in a bad run, but it's hard to take away from Wolves' performance, and I won't take away from Wolves' performance. Julian Lopetegui has come in and he's done a solid job with Wolves so far, and he's still only really instilling his style of football into these players. And look, once he gets another transfer, a summer transfer window under his belt, Wolves could be back up towards them European places like they were when they first came back up from the Championship. Um, Liverpool's in a bad run. Something needs to change. I've seen more fans calling for Klopp out, which is crazy to me, to be honest, because it's not his fault. Um, but obviously, he does need to take some of the blame. But Wolves, I seen Neves putting his finger to his head and saying to the fans that this is my celebration, not Marcus Rashford's, and I thought that was a bit fucked up. But You know, Wolves played very well. Neves shite. Scored a good goal, like, but shite. He's nowhere near Rashford's level. Um, Look, a great result for Wolves. Who needed it really, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Connor, look, Wolves starting to move away from the bottom echelons of the Premier League now. The football under Lopetegui is definitely exciting. It's getting the fans more excited. Um, so great performances in there from Wolves, especially at the back. They looked very compact. Liverpool didn't really offer that much of a threat. Um, as for the rest of the season, then Connor, with Wolves, where are they heading? What's a realistic possibility? And is Lopetegui going to be the man that pulls them back into European places, as Owen said?
Yeah, I do think this season they will probably 12th, 13th at least. It's very tight down there. Like easily, if you start getting wins together, you can push up the league. They've been brilliant the last few weeks, the last few times I've seen them. I thought Neves was brilliant in midfield, good goal, but like Liverpool's defending, even for that third goal, was just disgusting. Really, I think it was Matip and Gomez were the two centre backs, and they were just awful. And without Van Dijk in there, and Van Dijk hasn't even been playing well, but without Van Dijk, they look even worse. The first 12 minutes, I seen Klopp came out and said it's cost them because they were that bad. Uh, but Neves was superb. Dawson made his debut, scored a goal. Great finish for centre back. He was brilliant throughout too. Nunez again for Liverpool missing chances. He just does it every week. Stuck up for him far too many times. Just awful. But Wolves, yeah, they're still the lowest scores in the league, but they have been starting to score a few more goals. I was shocked to see 3-0, to be honest, because Wolves don't score many goals. But and then I seen Klopp came out and said, "Oh, the third goal shouldn't have counted because we dominated the second half," which is just pathetic. Really, I know Klopp should not be sacked, but we're starting to see a few excuses come out, and I think even he's baffled at how bad Liverpool are. It's their fourth game without a win this season. They're now in 10th. They're going nowhere. While Wolves are a better side than Liverpool at the minute. Their midfield was just completely dominant. Neves in midfield is so underrated. I think we said that a few weeks ago how underrated he is. He's a superb player. Even Traore came on and played well. But for Wolves, definitely, if they hadn't started so badly, they could have honestly been pushing for them European places this season. But obviously, they're a bit behind. So I would just say, towards 10th is definitely achievable.
Yeah, definitely, Connor. Definitely, they are. They're a good side. Owen, look, obviously the lads have touched a wee bit on Klopp, and I'll come to you sort of with a Liverpool viewpoint here. This is a side that we have been so used to blitzing teams, overrunning teams, overworking teams, really league leaders in the likes of turnovers and pressures. This is a Liverpool side that is now a shadow of itself. And the boys did chat a little bit there about Klopp, and Oren was saying that the voice on social media is maybe starting to swing against the manager here. Obviously, lack of investment within the squad. But look, would you be of the opinion here that the manager does have to shoulder a lot of the blame, or do you think there's other factors here that are more important than Klopp?
The first thing I'm going to say is fuck you, Dorman, for mentioning the Klopp saying the third goal doesn't count. You stole my joke. I was with me the entire time to say that.
Sorry,
No,
lad.
no, you're all right, lad. Look at usually with a team in form like this, a lot of the blame does fall on the manager. And look at he is the man at the end of the day who picks the team and puts the players out and makes the tactics. But look at if you've mentioned there, Connor, there's been no real proper investment in the areas Middletown Liverpool need.
Middletown in the
I don't,
Premier League.
I don't know where the hell that came from. But like, look at we all know how bad their midfield is. I thought their defending was comical the other day. It was atrocious. For the first goal, Mata look a bit unlucky. It hits off him, but still it's brutal defending. The third goal just opened up, open like the Red Sea. On the second goal, I don't know if Allison didn't shout, but if Allison shouted, I don't know why Joe Gomez is headering that ball back into a dangerous area. Like Joe Gomez flicks that ball onto the penalty spot with the keeper right
Mhm,
behind him, ready to catch on his chest. There wasn't
mhm.
a Wolves man within a 10-yard circle of the two of them there. So either Allison didn't shout, which I doubt, because Allison is still, even the bad form Liverpool are in, is one of the best keepers in the world. Never mind in England. And look, we do know what Liverpool can do. look, like this is going to be a forgotten season. They're going to finish 10th or 8th or ninth or whatever. Maybe they'll put a wee run together and go up the table near the end of the season. But it's going to be a season to forget for Liverpool. All it's about now is just trying to get a plan in place that they can improve the players they need to improve in the summer and improve tactically and just get the right mentality into that team. I don't think Jurgen Klopp should be sacked. Look, Jurgen Klopp inherited a shocking Liverpool team and made them into one of the best teams in the world. He deserves immense credit. Look at talk with City and potential financial impact, so we'll see what's to come with that and all. But like, it could be that this Liverpool team could have had three Premier League titles if not for Manchester City's dodgy dealings. So sacking Jurgen Klopp is not the way to go. Manager does have to take partial blame, but in the case of Liverpool, it's not Jurgen Klopp's fault. At the minute, if you're starting a Premier League game, no matter who you're playing with, Joe Matip and Joe Gomez as your two centre halves, you're begging for trouble, and it proved yesterday. Not take away from Wolves, fantastic performance. Dawson has kind of mentioned going on his debut. Ruben Neves showing the player he can be. Like Ruben Neves is still only what, like 24, 25.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like he's 25. Like the man just seems like he's been about for like 25 years. Well, he has been about for
Yeah,
25 years, but playing football for 25 years. So immense credit to Wolves yesterday. A result that wasn't massively surprising with the form Liverpool have been in the minute. So all power to the Wolves. They're getting themselves out of that relegation battle. Since Lopetegui's come in, they look like a different side. And Liverpool have a long hard season to go here, but it's just a matter of getting the season over and out of the way for Liverpool now at this stage.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Lads, just going to run through the last few games then of the game week. So I'll just quick comment from each of you. Oren, Chelsea nil, Fulham nil. Quite a drab and boring game, but Fulham have managed to take 4 points from their London rivals so far this season. Crazy, crazy stuff when you think about it. But flat Chelsea once again.
Do you know what, Connor? They could have took 6. They really could have took 6. I expected more from Fulham, which is crazy, but I did. Um, I didn't understand the way Potter set Chelsea up, and I feel, and I could be way off, but I feel that there was quite a lot of influence from Todd Bowley in that match in particular.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel that with all these new signings coming in, I think the new boss, or the new owner, sorry, wanted to see all these signings in action, and I still don't understand why Mudryk was taken off at half time. Look, he didn't do great, but Madueke didn't come on and do any better. I think the main focus of any of the new transfers was probably Detro Fofana. He probably played the best for Chelsea when he did come on. He had that chance at the end that look, he could have done better with, but it was good defending as well. No, it was odd. It really was odd. It was a weird dynamic watching Chelsea. There was no real progression in their play, and their midfield was lackluster. And I was gonna say it, and that shows the um, importance of Jorginho. But sure, Jorginho hasn't even been playing for Chelsea this season. Um, it's what we've said for the past number of weeks, and I know yourself, Richie, and Dorman especially have been very uh, passionate about this. They just haven't strengthened in the right areas. They haven't bought that creative midfielder that's going to bring them forward. They've brought all these players who are going to run in behind, but they've got no one to play them passes. And that was shown the other night with Mudryk running in behind, and Mason Mount couldn't play the pass.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, Oren.
So,
Agreed.
look, Chelsea, as we were saying about Liverpool there, and especially as Owen was saying about Liverpool there, it's a season to forget for Chelsea, to tell you the truth. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to come up this season for Chelsea, and they need to regroup. They need to shift a few players on because that dressing room's hardly it's going to be a hostile atmosphere. It has to be, especially with the likes of Aubameyang still in that dressing room. They should have got rid of Aubameyang in January when they knew they were going to sign players, and he was going to be omitted from the Champions League squad.
Yep.
Aubameyang
No,
is a
agreed.
Champions League player. He needs to be playing in the Champions League, and we've seen his own attitude problems, especially with all that came out when he was at Arsenal and in the documentary and stuff, and what he said about Arteta since how he couldn't handle big names. So it's definitely going to be a hostile atmosphere in that Chelsea dressing room, and I do think, as we've said for the past few weeks, Potter could be on thin ice. And I've seen fresh reports even this morning, and as close as about an hour ago, of Luis Enrique being in talks with Chelsea.
Wow, wow.
Well,
Now that would be a massive, massive story if that was to materialise into anything. Connor, coming to you then with Leicester and Aston Villa. Unai Emery said he couldn't explain the loss to Leicester. Leicester, again, looked like a different team. New signings come in, really gelled. Tete, very, very, very good. Was very impressed with his performance. But talk me through it. What do you make of the game? Fair result?
It's a very strange game. It was just Villa. Just honestly, I don't think I've seen a game like it where they just give away the win. Like, um, Kamara was just awful. He gave away two goals.
atrocious.
He was just awful. I don't know what he was doing. The first goal, especially, Ian Archer done well. He got in there, he got the tackle in, but he's coming out of his own box and he's just strolling out like there's nobody around him. It was just crazy. Obviously the new signings done well. You know, the centre backs Suter was unlucky. Own goal wasn't really his fault. It was unlucky. They've got the new guy Christensen, I think it is, in midfield. He looked okay too. He looked aggressive in midfield, but I thought Tete was their best player because I think Rogers was looking at winger who has pace and can go at a player, and he definitely has that. And he scored yesterday as well. I thought Villa didn't actually play that badly. Watkins' goal was decent, but just errors cost them, and it's not like Emery team for that to happen. So it's a big win for Leicester as well. Madison was back; he scored, and the new signings. So Leicester did look in trouble, but if they had to take the chances. They scored the goals. So if they can keep playing like that, and the new signings gel, they definitely have a good chance of staying in the division.
Yeah, agreed, Connor. Agreed. Owen, coming to you then with Brentford and Southampton. Brentford victorious 3-0 at home. But strange comments made by Nathan Jones after the game, Owen, where he said that he maybe needs to stop listening to external influences and he blamed the loss on himself as opposed to a lack of effort from his players. What do you take when you hear comments like that? Strange for a Premier League manager to be so honest, really.
Yeah, it is strange, especially the external influence thing. That's obviously means there's pressure from up the stairs coming down on him. It mightn't be his team being picked. He obviously being influenced into making the decisions. Look at Southampton, or we kind of all kind of know it now. Southampton are kind of resigned to the drop at this stage. They don't have the squad. The only real player, like Ward Prowse, has been all right over the last couple of weeks. I think Salisu is really good for Southampton. I give credit where credit's due. I think he's the reason Southampton even are only losing games 3-0. Um, Look at Southampton's a team at the minute who's relying on the likes of Che Adams, Theo Walcott to get them goals. Like Theo Walcott wasn't scored a couple of goals in 2014, but he played for Arsenal for what 15 years and he's still got bags of potential at 35 or whatever age he is. So look at Southampton are just it's just a complete mess with Southampton. It's another one that they're just going to have a total restructure in the summer. They're Southampton's been in the Premier League for a good while now. We know it. They went big on youth this year. It's backfired on them massively. There's still going to be big wages in that club. There's going to be a lot of sorting out to do for them in the summer because they're going to have to offload a serious amount of players and bring in players that can afford to try and get them back up to the Premier League. Look, I think this could be the last we see of Southampton in the Premier League for a while, to be honest with you. Um,
I think that's fair, Owen.
Yeah, it's fair.
on the flip side of that, Brentford have come up from the Championship last year and have not put a step wrong in their year and a half in the Premier League so far. I think Brentford are one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Premier League. We talk about Brighton, how great a season they've had. Brentford's a point behind them. Brentford and Fulham seem to be the two teams fighting for those for that Conference League place and even Europa League places. And it's great to see new teams challenging for European places. It was a routine enough win for Brentford yesterday. They probably could have scored a couple more. The one cleared off the line. It was a fantastic Ben. I want to give credit to Ben Mee for his goal because
Yeah,
he
definitely.
put his body in the lane, went straight for the ball, took man ball and nothing else. And it was a great finish. And on the flip side of that, Che Adams had the chance to do the same on a rebounder. David Rea was on the edge of his backs. Che Adams kind of yellowed out of it a wee bit and barely got a touch on the ball, and the ball spun wide of the post. If he had been similar to Ben Mee and wanted it and was hungry enough for it, he could have put the ball in the net, and that would have made the game 2-1, and all of a sudden it's game on. But look, there's not much you can say about Southampton's season at the minute other than they know they're going down. Everybody knows they're going down. If they don't go down, I will be shocked. And Brentford continue to excite and amaze and are established now as one of the hardest teams to play in the Premier League.
Yeah, agreed, Owen. And finally, then the last game of the game week, Brighton defeated Bournemouth 1-0. A bit of a shaky one for Brighton. Normally, we're so used to seeing them play so expressively and expansively, but Bournemouth did pin them back fairly well, and it took the brilliance of Kairi Matoma once again to pull the rabbit out of the hat and win the game for Brighton. So moving on then, lads, to our picks of the week. Connor, gonna come to you first then. Who is this week's player of the week?
Yep. So this week I am going to go for Iheanacho. Goal and 2 assists. I thought he was brilliant. He's been poor all season, and we've called him out for it. But even the first goal, the hard work to get the ball off Kamara, and he played a great pass for this. I think it was the third goal. So he was superb. Ben Mee, special mention to Ben Mee, who's good, and obviously Neves. But Iheanacho stood up in a big game. They needed 3 points, and he contributed a goal and 2 assists. So player of the week,
Yeah,
Iheanacho.
fantastic lad, fantastic. He was absolutely brilliant in the game. Owen, coming to you. Who is the cream of the cream boob of the week this week?
Oh lad, this week it was bloody raining boobs this week. Boobs as far as the eyes can see.
Happy days, boys. Happy days.
Some honourable mentions go to Undov from Brighton for somehow missing a basically open goal 3 times in a row. Fair play to Undov, you're not going to quite make it. Another honourable mention goes to Joe Matip and Joe Gomez for just being crap at their jobs. Chelsea get an honourable mention for spending the GDP of a small country only to draw them at home.
What about Emma Martinez?
He's always just kind of a boob anyway.
Yeah.
But the winner of the boob of the week this week, it might not have been the biggest boob, but it was the biggest game, was Rodri for giving the ball to Højbjerg on the edge of the box to set up the eventual winner for Tottenham. Just because of the size of the game, to make a mistake like that when it's your best chance in a long time to make a bit of ground up on Arsenal and take the league back in your own hands, because they still have Arsenal to play twice. So for that mistake, Rodri is this week's boob of the week.
Unfortunate for Rodri. Unfortunate. All right, then, lads, moving on to my fantasy player of the week. Southampton play Wolves for the coming weekend in the Premier League. So my player of the week is a bit of a bold one. I am going Pablo Sarabia. I feel like he's going to terrorise that Southampton defence and could possibly get amongst the goals at that game at St Mary's.
That's a good one.
Saturday. So, Oren, moving on then to your opinion of the week. What have you got for us this week?
Look, I could have changed my opinion many a time today talking about Man City, but as I said, I think that deserves a full episode, so I don't really want to get into it right now. Look, my opinion, it's about Liverpool again. I feel like my opinion seems to always be about Liverpool. Excuse me, but this week, my opinion is that Jude Bellingham will not come to the Premier League, considering what has happened with Man City and with Liverpool set to miss out on Champions League football. I don't think Jude Bellingham's going to come to the Premier League. I think he's going to go to Real Madrid.
Very interesting take. Very interesting take. And to be honest, Oren, before you even made that opinion, I shared the same opinion. Even before any of this stuff this season happened, I was very adamant that Jude Bellingham, I think, was going to end up at Real Madrid, and I think he's going to be part of a midfield of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and that's going to be their midfield for the next 10, 15 years, however long it is. So yeah. I'm in complete agreement with you.
And it will terrorise European football.
Totally agree with you, Oren. Just as you said, even before the season, you kind of thought, look, Real Madrid is the place for him to go. Even now, with God knows what's going to happen with City and the absolute mess that Liverpool's in it, what would take him to Liverpool at the minute?
Mm-hmm.
If Real Madrid's sniffing about you, you go to Real Madrid. And if Real Madrid are replacing Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric. I don't know why I couldn't think of Luka Modric there for a second.
Middle time.
midline. Place Modric in the whole of midline. With Camavinga,
Tchouaméni and
Tchouaméni
Bellingham.
and Bellingham, like it's as you said, it's just going to terrorize European football.
Yeah.
It's like probably one of the best midfields we've ever seen. Straight after one of the best midfields we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
honest, though, I did think he would have went to Liverpool. I just think now with them, well, they mightn't get European football at all. Obviously, we've talked about this extensively, but they're definitely not going to get Champions League football. And like we were talking to Stevie yesterday at the Armagh match, big Liverpool fan, our friend Stevie, and he was saying he still thinks Bellingham's going to come, and he thinks that a year out of Champions League football could be good for Bellingham and for Liverpool because they focus on the league. But they have so many problems that they need to figure out before they can even think about signing Jude Bellingham.
I don't think they could afford him more.
No, I don't think they could
No,
either.
not a chance.
But I
Even
think
He's
that
got,
Klopp's put all his eggs into this basket for the past 2 years, Curtin Bellingham, and I think now it's all backfired considering the state that they're in there.
even if
listen,
Yeah.
Owen, I completely agree. Like, if you think they only got 70 million for Haaland, they only got 75, 80 million for Sancho. They're gonna really want to make their money with Bellingham here,
Yeah.
and that sale is going to possibly be 125, 130 million, and
Yeah.
Liverpool's owners aren't going to cough up that amount of money.
Exactly. And because
Yeah.
he's English, back to the Premier League, there's just that tax as well, that English tax.
exactly, sure. Look at Benfica got for Enzo Fernandez. So why would Dortmund not get all they can for him? Like,
Exactly,
um,
Yeah.
and Bellingham is a better player than Enzo Fernandez.
yeah, and even if Liverpool could afford him, there's so many problems in that squad that if they bought Bellingham, they're just throwing funds away that aren't gonna and leaving massive holes.
I think Bellingham would be stupid to go to Liverpool, to be honest, whether, like, as you were saying, their situation, and they're not going to be in Champions League football, so why would he go from playing Champions League football each year to not playing Champions League football? I think Liverpool was the only real Premier League one, maybe City, but yeah, he'll end up at Madrid, and that'll be a smart choice because he'll
I
be a
think
top
so.
player there.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed, lads. All right, moving it on to our predictions then for the coming game week. So I think we already predicted Man United and Leeds in the previous Premier League coverage, didn't we? Because it was part of this game week.
I
I
can't
think.
remember, to tell you the truth.
I think we
Couldn't
did.
tell you.
But I'm going to
I
say
think-
United win anyway.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take United too. All right then, West Ham versus Chelsea at the London Stadium then, Oren.
At the London Stadium. Look, it was a good result there for West Ham against Newcastle away, so maybe they could pull off a shock. I'm going to say West Ham.
West Ham. Okay. Connor.
Yeah, I'm going to go West Ham as well because Chelsea are just so bad at the minute.
Yeah, fair enough. Owen.
I'm going to give Chelsea a wee bit of credit, and I'm going to say a draw.
I am the same as you, and I'm going to go for a draw there. Arsenal at home to Brentford then, Oren.
Draw.
Draw. Oh, okay. Connor.
It's a tricky one because Brentford are playing well. I think they're unbeaten in 7, but Arsenal at home are different animals, so I'm going to go Arsenal.
Owen.
Yeah, it will be a tricky enough game and an interesting game. It's actually a pity it's the 3 o'clock game. It's not on TV, but it'll be a good game to watch. But I'm going to go Arsenal.
Fair enough. I am also going to go Arsenal as well. I think at home they are just, like you said, Connor, they are a different beast. Crystal Palace at home to Brighton then, Oren.
Oh my god, there's some difficult games.
Yeah, these are tough.
It's tight.
Well, look, they've no Zaha. I seen he was back in training today, but whether he makes that game or not could really shift this result. And obviously Brighton struggled there against Bournemouth. I'm going to say a draw on this one.
Draw. Okay, Connor.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think Brighton do struggle against Palace as well, and Zaha plays well against them, so I'm going to go Palace win. I need Zaha to play, but I'm going to risk it and say Palace win.
Okay, Owen.
I think Brighton didn't have a great performance there at the weekend. I think they kind of right the ship a wee bit this week. I think Brighton's players at the minute are fantastic. Mintoma is in fantastic form, so I'm going to back Brighton.
I'm also going to back Brighton. Owen, Fulham at home to Nottingham Forest.
Jesus.
I know.
I'm going to go Nottingham Forest just with the signing of Keller Navas. I think that they're not going to ship as many goals, and look, their away record hasn't been too great this season in terms of goals, but I'm backing them this week.
Fair enough. Connor.
I'm going to go Fulham. I was impressed by how they played against Chelsea, and I think they'll get a result at home.
Owen?
Similar to what Warren was saying about Keylor Navas, I still find it mad that Keylor Navas is playing for Nottingham Forest. I think he's I think he's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So I'm not going to back them for a win, but I'm going to back a draw.
A draw, okay. I am going to take Fulham. I think Fulham maybe just have a wee bit too much for Forest. Oren, Leicester at home to Spurs then?
Spurs off the back of a good result, but so are Leicester, to tell you the truth. I'm going to go with draw, because I think Leicester do have that attacking power now. But if Spurs do come out with that defensive stability that they came out with against City, it'll be different. But yeah, I'm going to go draw.
Draw, okay. Connor?
I'm going to go Spurs. I think they're going to go on a run now. I think they'll win this game.
Owen?
It would be like Spurs to beat Man City and then get beat by Leicester the week after, but I do feel Spurs have enough to beat Leicester at the minute.
And I can't say anybody other than Spurs in this household, especially with my mother just outside the bedroom door. So
if you hear the door getting kicked down and Richie saying, I'm sorry, you know what happened.
yeah, you know exactly what's happening. Oren, Southampton at home to Wolves.
Wolves.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy choice, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, Wolves, that just seems like the easiest game of the weekend to pick.
Owen?
Yeah, we're all going to say Wolves here and say it's going to be easy. And Southampton's probably going to end up winning 2-1, but you have to go Wolves.
Yeah, congratulations, Wolves. You've got the golden buzzer. You're through to the next round. Bournemouth at home to Newcastle then, Oren?
Newcastle will go to slap them.
I think so too. Connor?
Yeah, Newcastle will slap them. Bournemouth's the worst team in the league. Well, Southampton are them. It's a toss-up.
Owen?
Newcastle's draw demons keep coming up. It's going to be punctured.
2 golden buzzers in a row there. Congratulations, Newcastle. We'll see you in the next round.
I said a draw, in fairness.
Oh, did you?
Punctured, my friend.
Punctured.
Oh, jeez. It shows how much I'm listening there.
To be fair, McCurdy, you do sound like you're in an airplane.
Oh, God. The reverse fixture then between Leeds and Man United on Sunday. So this is the one at Elland Road then, lads. Oren?
I'm going to say United, but this one's going to be more difficult. It depends if they have, because Chris Ormas is coming in to be the caretaker manager until they get a full manager. So if Ted Lasso's still at the wheel, it could be difficult for United.
Connor?
Hopefully they don't have the new manager in, because I'd be scared if they did, because Emery fucking beat us in the first game. So I'm going to go Man United win, but it'll be tighter. Obviously, it'll be tighter than the game of Wednesday.
Owen?
Get your brushes out, folks, because United's going to sweep Leeds. United's going to do it twice in a week.
Yeah, I think United's going to beat them twice in the week as well, so I'll take United too. And then we have Man City against Aston Villa. Man City at home, that is, Oren.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw or even a Villa win, but I'm going to say Man City are going to bounce back.
Connor?
Yeah, I'll go Man City at home.
Owen?
Funny, Villa's a team that's caused City problems in the past. I'm going to stick my neck out a wee bit in the line and say a draw.
A draw, okay. I'll be a wee bit controversial here, lads. I think with the cloud that's hanging over Man City at the minute, I feel like Villa are going to bounce back and beat Man City. That's my bold prediction this weekend. And the final game then of the game week is Liverpool against Everton in the Merseyside derby on Monday night. Liverpool at home, that is. Oren, who are you taking?
Everton.
Oh, spicy. Connor?
Yeah, I want to go Everton, but I'm gonna say draw, because Everton's record at Anfield is just awful. So I'll go draw.
Owen?
It's a tough enough one with the way the forms are going at the minute, but I'll stick with Liverpool, even though I've talked shit about them all night.
Fair enough. I was actually talking to Mincy about this game yesterday on the way to Red Neds, and I just have a feeling that if Everton are ever going to beat Liverpool at Anfield, I think this is the best chance that they have.
Completely agree.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
Yeah, with Deitch in now and that resurgence, I do think Everton's gonna stun the world and beat Liverpool at Anfield.
Completely
Moving
agree.
on then to our final section, the guess the player. Oren, I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, boys. So we've got 3 again this week. I've tried to make them a wee bit easier, but still challenging. I am obviously
Because
just
we've been shite. Well, I've
because
been
you haven't
shite.
been
Yeah, we
great. To be
struggle.
fair.
I haven't been shite.
No, you done well last week.
Oh, you done well last week.
You got a clean sweep last week, so it's 5-2-0. 5, of course, to Richie, 2 Dorman, and McArdle still on his lonesome on 0.
Giving them a chance. Just giving them a chance.
Giving them a chance, lad.
Head start.
Yeah. Give him a head start. You're like Lightning
lad.
McQueen, lad.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, first clue. I have played with Fabian Schär, Ante Rebic, Antonio Rudiger, and Jan Sommer.
Jay Rodriguez.
You're out.
Ah.
Jay Rodriguez, what the fuck kind of
No,
guess
not
is
Jay
that?
Rodriguez. I'm a fanny. I meant the other Rodriguez.
Oh, the back.
Yeah.
One said Jay Rodriguez, who's
I
played
meant-
for Burnley and
I was
Southampton.
like, where did he play with Rabbits?
I meant,
Or any of them? I don't think he played with any of those lads.
I meant the
Oh
other
my
Rodriguez.
God.
I thought that was a good idea because he played for
That's
AC Milan and he's
horrifying.
Swiss. He's probably wrong anyway.
That is horrifying.
He should get a minus point for that lad. He should
That
get a
is
minus point for that.
horrifying. All right, Dorman, big
All right,
balls.
Dorman,
What you
just
mean?
make sure your buzzer's working this week.
Okay, number 2.
Sorry, lad.
I am a current Premier League player. Number 3. I have won 7 trophies with my current Premier League club, having joined them in 2017. Number 4. I hold the record for the fastest hat-trick in Champions League history, which I got this season. And number 5. I have 17 goals and 7 assists in 31 appearances across all competitions this season. Who am I? Ten-second timer.
Sure, it's not Jay Rodriguez, lad, yeah.
I'm sure. In fact, I'll read all 5 again,
Yeah,
just to
you
give you
read
a
them,
bit more time,
I
okay?
think I might know.
Oren,
Yes,
is it Mohamed Salah?
it's Mohamed Salah. Well done, Richie.
That wasn't even that hard.
Yeah,
I'm
played
so
with
shit.
Fabian
I'm so
Schär.
shit.
Fabian Schär and Jan Sommer at Basel.
Awesome.
Played with Ante Rebic at Fiorentina and played with Antonio Rudiger at Roma. And his fastest hat-trick was against Rangers this year in 6 minutes.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, number 2. So we're on 6-2-0. First clue. I have scored 107 goals and have 46 assists in 756 club appearances. I have played with Dani Alves, Xavi, David Villa, and Lionel Messi. I have won 6 domestic league titles since making my debut in 2003. I have only played for 3 clubs in my career with a
Sergio
total
Ramos.
transfer. Well done, Owen. Well done. Straight in with the Sergio Ramos. Very good.
I knew
the-
you were trying to make us think Barcelona, so I was thinking Spain.
The last 2 clubs, or the last 2 clues, were I've only played for 3 clubs in my career with a total transfer history succumbing to £27 million, and I'm a 2 times Euros winner and a World Cup winner. McCurley, are you swimming?
No.
Are you sure, lad?
Yeah,
Sounds like you went overboard there.
Just not. I'm just so excited I've got one right. I just want to go for a wee dip.
He's sovereign.
Jesus, put the armbands on, mate. Jesus. So Owen's now off. Oh, he's on the leaderboard now, but so it's 6-2-1. Dorman, he's hot and heavy in your heels, lad.
Oh, I'm having a shocker. I just take a blank every single one.
Okay, last one for the week. Okay, first clue. I am playing for a club that is still in a European competition this season. Number 2. I am a Premier League winner. Number 3. I have played with Thiago Alcantara, Chris Smalling, Alexander Pato, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Number 4. I am the only player in history to score in every major European final So it's the Champions League, Europa League, Super Cup, and Club World Cup. And number 5, I am a World Cup and Euros winner. Who am I?
Say the clues again, please, lad.
Okay, I'm going to run through them quickly. Number 1, I'm playing for a club that is still in European competition this season. Number 2, I'm a Premier League winner. Number 3, I've played with Thiago Alcantara, Chris Smalling, Alexander Pato, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Number 4, I'm the only player in history to score in every major European final, which is Champions League, Europa League, Super Cup, and Club World Cup. And number 5, I'm a World
Oh,
Cup and Euros winner.
is it Pedro?
It is indeed Pedro.
Good shout.
Well done,
Yeah,
Dorman.
I'm Dorman. You'll have to be
Was
some
there a bit of
sparks.
looking up there, boys? Was there a bit of I don't
oh,
know,
lad, I
Dorman?
There's
No,
no
did
way.
you?
There's
I
no
can't,
eyes on him
lad.
here.
No way,
I'm
no
so
one.
shit.
I'm only calling. Yeah,
There's
it
no
was
one
The way
Pedro.
I've been
paying
performing, lad, I don't
these
even blame you for asking that. I don't even blame you for asking that, lad.
No, look, it was Pedro. Some records when I was looking up about Pedro, that fella's played some good football over the years, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
He was always seen as like an understudy at Barcelona, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was always a very talented footballer. Like,
He was always there. Like
I know that's it.
he
Well,
always
look,
popped up with a goal.
he did indeed, of course, and even for the likes of Chelsea and that as well, he was always. And he scored today for Lazio.
Did he? Fair play to him.
He did, yeah.
oh,
Jesus.
he's still kicking it
Still
in the top
kicking it.
5
Well,
league. Yeah,
scored today in a 1-1 draw against Hellas Verona.
very good.
Yeah, so the final scores at the end of this week is Richie staying on 6, Dorman moving up the leaderboard on 3, and Owen finally getting onto the board with 1. Obviously, these are going to go on to our TikTok as well. We've seen quite a few views on the ones on TikTok so far, and long way to continue. So that's a plug to the TikTok. Go and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to wrap it up for this week, folks. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for all the support. Really, really appreciate it. Please go and follow us on all of our social media handles. It's at Bottom Bins Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and of course TikTok. You can find us on the Parlay Sports app. That's PRLY Sports on the Apple App Store. Apple App Store. God, I can almost speak.
Midtown.
Please come in, have a footballing conversation with us. Some good content on there, and planning some more good content for the next few weeks. That is, that's going to do it for this week. Please check out our previous episodes. Our transfer deadline day episode just come out there last Friday. Check out our mid-season reviews. Some really, really interesting and good analysis within those reviews. And like I said, we're probably going to have a Bottom Bins extra up this week covering the situation at Manchester City, because it's massive news and probably does need to be talked about. So thank you very much, and as always, keep it Bottom Bins.
Keep it bottom bits.
Keep bottom buttons.